And welcome to the Review Tuesday. My name's Ruben, and this is my review for Netflix's original anime series called Trese. Let's talk about it in the comments below. I hope you enjoy. This is non-spoiler. I will be doing an ending explained or talking about the ending, but not in this video, so let's jump into it. Set in Manila, where the mythical creatures of the Philippine folklore live in hiding amongst the humans, Alexanda Trese finds herself going head-to-head with criminal underworld comprised of malevolent supernatural beings. There are only 6 episodes long, unfortunately, and there are 30 minutes apiece for each episode, and I say unfortunately because by the time you hit the end you're probably going to want a lot more from this. It's based off a comic book series, not really a manga series, just a comic book series. There are 7 volumes with a few like side stories. Sometimes it can be a bit difficult to get hold of these comic book series, so after watching this anime series, if you're inspired and you want to know what's going to happen next, you're going to have to go hunting. I think now, because it's going to be more popular, there'll be a lot more in print to publish. I for one had not read the comics until I had watched the anime, and now I've gone and done a bit of research, and because I'm that interested in the world. The thing that works most of all for this anime series is that the folklore creatures are fantastic. The adventure that is had within this world as we follow through the footsteps of our young detective, like a cross between supernatural Constantine and a detective show. We've had those in live action versions and comic and manga, but this is a Philippines series that just really dives deep into that folklore. And she is very much a Constantine character, doing spells, doing magic. She knows kung fu, which is great. So you take that, you mix that in this really interesting world. You're going to be absorbed in it because you want to know more about the creatures, and that the creature designs look fantastic because I think they have a lot to pull from the actual folklore and from the comics. So I think there's a lot to make this really great. The thing I was disappointed by was that there's a lot that feels like the story is skipped over with, because there's only 6 episodes, so they jump in, which is great, because I hate so much time spent on giving us backstories when you can do it through flashbacks, which they do in a few of the episodes. In fact, most episodes start with like going backwards in a black and white sequence, and then you get that kind of flashback, and you get some character building, but we needed more episodes. That's what this feels like. It's a 6 episode. I think sometimes Netflix do this. They green light a certain number of episodes to see whether the fans will really like it, and then maybe we might get more. Castlevania started that way with 4, 6, 8 and 10. I'm hoping that we'll get like 8 and 10 if they follow the volumes of the graphic novels that we've had so far. So I think they cover the first 3 in this one series in the 6 episodes, as far as I can tell. So we may get another 2 depending on what they do with the storylines and how much bigger each volume is, because there's a few bigger volumes. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will say, I know some people will probably have an issue with the animation style. It feels like at times there's missing frames. It just has that kind of feel to it. The animation style as well will remind you of early Jackie Chan adventures, that sort of style. After the first episode, I was into it. I got used to it. I accepted what it was. I know people were also complaining and saying, how can you call this anime? This is something that Netflix does. It's an original animated series from the Philippines. I don't think that there was a Japanese studio in making this series. So I'm not sure you can actually call it anime, but Netflix is doing that, so I'll go with what they're saying it is. Nevertheless, it's an animated series with an interesting look at your anti-hero hero character arc that we've had many times before. It's an 18, and the first episode you'll be thinking to yourself, well, how is this an 18? You know, it's gory in parts, and there are moments where you're like, maybe a 15. But once you get into like episode 2 and 3, you're like, okay, I totally get why it's an 18. So do bear that in mind as well if you're just going to thrust your 12 or 13-year-old, although I imagine 12 and 13-year-olds will love it because it's that sort of story. It's the sort of thing I wanted to watch when I was young, but wasn't allowed to, or that you snuck into your parents' room or your friend's house to watch that age-restricted TV series or film, because that's what kids do. Yeah. I thought it was fantastic in that way, but it is very gory and does deserve its 18 rating in places. In other places, it does feel like a Jackie Chan adventure story. I do like the time giving to some of the characters' background stories, although I would have liked more. We get the most with our main character, which is the right thing to do. And by the time you get to the end, I think you're going to have a few questions about what is actually going on and who you can actually trust. But the thing that really works is the puzzle piecing of the storyline. So each episode is kind of a detective case. She has to to solve a supernatural something and try and keep the balance between light and dark in check. Her father has created these accords between the things that go bump in the night, very much like Hellboy in that retrospect. You know, we've seen that sort of storyline done before. We have these people that are trying to keep things in check so that both sides of the world don't end up clashing, and we just get the end of the world sort of thing. So now we have her going through the motions. I've been going through the motions, following in the footsteps of her father. There are times when you'll be like, what is going on here? I see the puzzle piecing. The puzzle piecing will come together at the end, and you'll be like, oh, that's a cool reveal. But at the end, you will also have some more questions, which I think leads us into the second season, which I'm hoping we're going to get, especially with that end credit scene. If you were watching and you switch it off, there is an end credit scene that you'll probably need to go back and watch. I'll be talking about that in another video. Thanks so much for watching. I'm going to give this an A-. I think it was solid, it was interesting. I was teetering between a B+ because of the animation style, but once I got over them calling it an anime, I thought it was a really interesting 6 episodes. I thought the protagonist was great, the voice work was good, and I loved the story. I think that's what gripped me the most. It was really interesting. So let me know in the comments below what you thought. Thanks so much for watching this, but most of all, till next time, remember, live long Tuesday.